Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Self-Aware and Up podcast. So this week, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I have a special guest, Justin L. DeBose. He is here. He's a licensed professional counselor, professional photographer, and also a member. And I think he does some executive stuff with the Counseling Brothers of Atlanta as well. So he is here today. And what's kind of interesting is I invited him on the show because of some stuff that I saw on his Facebook around a lot of these podcasts out there talking about relationships and talking about stuff that really was toxic around relationships from what I remember. So we're going to be debunking some of that stuff and just really having an in-depth conversation about relationships and how we navigate those and how we should be navigating those. So without further ado, please welcome to the Self-Aware and Up podcast, Mr. Justin L. DeBose. Hey, Justin, what's going on, man?
Hey, Tree. Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. Awesome intro. Happy to be here. Happy to be here. Glad to have the opportunity to talk with you.
Well, I'm glad that you decided to come on out after you was talking crap about those other podcasts. I was like, I don't know if he gonna come on or not, but I'm glad that you kind of gave us a shot and was like, yeah, I'll do it definitely. Even though you had to scream me, like, all right, we got to talk about it. I was like, you know what? I want you on, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. But before we dive into this relationship shit, let's go ahead and just have you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much. So about me, as Tree said, professional counselor, been doing it now for well over 10 years, which seems even funny to say. Have been doing professional photography for the last 4 years. For the last about 4 or 5 years. Family man, wife, 2 kids. And so just a little bit of all around. Try to consider myself a bit of an all-arounder. I enjoy talking to people. I think that's why I'm so excited to be here. I really enjoy talking to people. I'm the kind of person that can make a friend in any room I step into, and enjoy hearing people's story, enjoy learning about others, and just having good conversation with folks. It's one of the reasons I got into counseling, matter of fact. Quick thing about me, growing up, I was always going to do computers. I was always going to do computer science and whatnot. And to this day, I still enjoy building computers, big tech head. But probably at like 17, I realized that I wanted to learn more about people than computers. Took a psychology class in high school, never looked back.
Wow. Okay.
And went straight down into all my schooling and everything. Said, I'm going strictly psychology. Nice. Came out, love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely didn't know about the computer thing, but I can see that. I could definitely see you being into that or whatever. But it's interesting, like the whole taking a psychology class, because I always knew I wanted to be in this field, but taking that psychology class in high school definitely solidified it for me. And so after that, it was like, and so I definitely love that part of your story. So anything else, like background wise, I know do you work with a lot of relationship, like couples counseling? Is that part of your journey?
Couples counseling is one of the things that I offer. But you know what I typically get in my practice? I get a lot of the men who are already seeing a couples counselor and they need an individual counselor. And so I'll get a lot of men who's either their wife or their spouse has told them they need to see a counselor, so they'll end up coming to see me.
Okay.
Or the couples therapist has said, hey, you need to do some individual work.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it's okay. Well, come on in. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. And let's start to dive into what's happening in your relationship. Let's start to really get into that. And even before I was in counseling, that would always kind of happen. I realized growing up too, I was that person when people wanted to talk about things like that, people wanted to talk about their relationships, I would just kind of hear. And so I became, till I learned that that's not the best thing to do, I became all my friends' therapists.
Wow. Yeah.
I was the one that everyone would come to and just have conversations about the relationship with. And I'd hear them and try to give good feedback, not directly advice, but just good feedback. And over time, I realized I should get paid for this.
Yeah, you should. I'm glad you do.
So that's, but I found myself enjoying it. And that also tied into the journey that I had getting into this field.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, I mean, I'm glad, obviously, that as a Black man, being able to be there. I mean, I'm sure you work with like people from all different ethnicities, and that's cool or whatever. But Black men in counseling, that's like an anomaly for a lot of people, and like so many people struggle to find that. So it's always like something I love. Like I love what you guys do with Counseling Brothers of Atlanta, because I feel like it needs to be out there, and people need to see you guys and see that there is support out there for our Black men. So I love and definitely appreciate what you guys do. So let's go ahead and dive into the reason why we are here today. These relationships, man. Like, so I gotta go ahead and just start off by having you, like, what is your issue with a lot of the podcasts out here that talk about relationship stuff and the stuff that they be saying?
One thing is definitely, I see a lack of credentials, for one.
Okay.
I'll definitely see individuals discussing relationships and trying to guide people in a certain way. But what happens is I don't see a clinical spin at all. So it's about so much of what's wrong with this and what's wrong with the other and what's wrong with that. But there's no clinical spin on it. There's no clinician present to really help people understand, to really help or even explain, this may be why this person behaves this way, or these are the things from that person's past that could be impacting them, or this is the kind of healing this person may have to undergo before they're ready for a relationship. So that's one thing, is the lack of clinicians. But then the other part is, everybody has this blueprint for what the other person is supposed to be. And it's kind of like monolithic thinking. This is what it's got to be. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how men's supposed to be. This is how women's supposed to be. And I just see, and the interesting part about it, though, Tree, is I believe anyone can say whatever they want. Right. Yeah. In our short time of getting to know each other, you know me, super easygoing.
Definitely.
And just let people say and speak and just kind of be whatever they want to be. But what I see happening is, I'm seeing a lot of people pick up on different points and then feel like, okay, my life has to look like this.
Yeah.
And I'm watching people do that. I'm engaging with people that are doing that. And I'm realizing that it's harming their ability to form good relationships, because they're modeling it after what this person may have said or what that person may have said, instead of modeling after what their life actually may look like.
Yeah. I can definitely see that a lot. What popped in my head just then was this whole idea of relationship goals. Like that was the hashtag of all hashtags for a while. People, especially modeling their relationships, like after these celebrity relationships that they see in the news. Like, what's your take on that?
Oh God, I love that point. Told you we're gonna have a good time. I see that. We see that so much, and it's not realistic, right? You get some of those individuals who, and these are celebrities. These are people that don't have to worry about money. These are people that are also under the public spotlight and scrutiny all the time. So their relationship is always being investigated. It's always being viewed. It's always being picked apart. Yeah. And so the average person is not having a relationship like that. But to try to model it after that, you place such unrealistic goals on yourself and expectations, and that creates so much unnecessary stress in a relationship. Yeah. But it looks good.
Yeah, it does look good. And speaking of looks, like the whole like social media kind of phenomenon around relationships, like, you gotta post me this amount of times, or why your friends don't know about me, or why you hiding me, that whole like kind of thing of social media, like taking over the dynamics of a relationship, because now you putting on for everybody else, and shit fucked up at your own house. Like, do you see a lot of that going around in these relationship streets, of people fronting for the gram or fronting for Facebook, but still out there crying at night?
I've had individuals that I've seen who whose partner want them to be posted more on Facebook. And from their perspective, they're not big on social media. Or I've had that happen. I've seen individuals who will post every good thing that happens on Facebook but are talking to me about the bad. And this is both in this is both in session and in just friends and people that I may actually know in real life.
Yeah.
Is you see stuff online, you see the great posts, you see the family pictures, you see the love shown. But then, from personal conversation that, oh man, this ain't the case at all. They're in two separate homes, right? They're separated right now. I don't know what's going on, but this is what's being shown.
Not separated.
It's this keep up mentality right now.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I don't believe everyone needs to see everything that you have going on in your life. I believe people are owed their privacy.
Yeah.
But it gets to an interesting point where it's essentially what you're putting out is the complete opposite of what life actually is.
Yeah. It's almost like they're living in a kind of a delusional world, or at least that's what they're displaying to the rest of the world. Like, right. What are some of the, I guess, challenges around that? Like, how do you, navigate that with somebody when they are just kind of stuck in that funk of like, this is the life I'm going to portray, but I know that I'm going home crying tears into my pillow.
When I get that, the challenge becomes helping them to see that whatever's really happening behind the cameras or behind closed doors, you're really not happy.
Yeah.
So in this 60-minute session, let's dig into why you're really not happy. Let's dig into that. I'm not going to tell you what you have to post on social media or tell you what you need to do. Just at least while you're in that time period with me, let's talk about what's really going on. All right. Gotcha. And let's start to really dig into that more than anything. And so the challenge becomes pulling away from the facade of what a person's putting out and really digging into the uncomfortable truths that may exist in their life.
Yeah. And that can be hard. Like, it's hard for people to face that part of their lives because we are so wired now in this social media age to like make things look a certain way online. And it's so many miserable ass people and miserable relationships out there because we have people that don't want to do the work. They don't want to deal with it. And like you said earlier, to your point about like, all these people out here giving advice on relationships with no type of clinical background. I don't think everybody needs to have a clinical background per se, but I think that some of it needs to be done like based in some type of fact or some type of guidance needs to be present. So in kind of looking back at that and kind of moving forward from there, like, what do you think like the number one issue is that you are seeing, not just with the podcast about relationships, but just relationships themselves? Like, what is the number one thing that you're seeing?
Ooh, okay. Nope, I can answer this one. Let me not say everyone. The biggest thing that I genuinely see is people telling the other side what to do. And so that's not just in the podcast space, but even within the relationships. If they're unhappy, it's, well, I'm unhappy because my partner's not doing this. They need to start doing something. They need to do this. It's a lot of people telling others how to be, but not willing to look in the mirror and just ask themselves, what can I do a little better? Or how can I help the situation?
Right.
How can I improve what's happening in my house and what's happening in my relationship? Or even just asking themselves the question of, do I play a role in this? Am I impacting what's happening?
That part.
Yeah.
That part. Because nobody wants to take accountability.
And it's killing us. It's killing relationships left and right. It just the lack of an ability to ask yourself, you know what did I play into this? At least some. At least somewhat.
Yeah. So that's why I'm grateful for my therapist, because she holds me accountable. Like, is so many people out there, especially like, take the therapist out of it. Just talk about your friends that don't like give it to you real. Don't like, that was messed up or whatever. Like, I know we have mutual friend Erica. Like, Erica holds me accountable when I'm on some bullshit. She would tell me, so yeah, you shouldn't have did that. Yeah, no, it ain't her. It's you. Like, you need to work on that part of yourself or whatever. So like, I think that more people need friends and like like, I don't care for their parents, whatever. More people need people in their lives that are going to hold them accountable, because one thing that you said about like, it's, the other person is the problem. Oh, the other person needs to do this so that I'm happy. Ain't nobody responsible for your happiness except for you. And I think that that's what we really need to talk about. Like, your partner cannot make you 100% happy. You got to do the work. So how do you kind of navigate that with somebody who's like, it is just my partner. It's not me. I don't need to change. How do you deal with that?
Oof. Ooh, look, accountability, right? It's man, that's a good one. It's hard to navigate that, and you have to start at some point. You have to ask yourself, man, is it navigatable? Yes, I think that's a word, but it's
navigatable. All right,
is it even able to be navigated? Because if the person's not willing to even consider that, what do you do? How do you get someone to understand that? How do you get someone that to at least contemplate, man, I may have a part in this. I need to hold myself accountable too. And I love Erica to death, because right, she's one of quite a few that I have that will hold me accountable. That's one of the things I love about the title of your podcast is, even in the title alone, it encourages self-awareness, being able to introspect within yourself and realize, there are some things that I definitely either have or had an issue with, or I needed to reframe how I was approaching certain things.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, as much as I focus on relationships, that was one of the things that even for myself, I really had to grow up in. I was a person who, because I was, again, very friendly, very easygoing. My easygoing nature has definitely been an issue for me at times, to where things would happen and I wouldn't call it out. Wow. I would see things in some friends and I'd be like, okay, well, not my business, keep it moving. But these were people close to me and they were engaging in behaviors that I'm like, that's not really conducive to the life that they say they want to live.
Yeah.
And so that was a change that I had to realize within myself is, don't have to be so amicable, but also start to set boundaries even amongst yourself.
Yeah.
When it comes to the people that you're interacting with. And if this is going to be your circle, you have to start calling out things that you see. You have to, because that's one thing, even touching back on relationship podcasts. I don't see enough of the brother's going to hate me for this, but I don't see enough men holding other men accountable. I just don't see enough of that.
Listen. So, like, literally right before we hopped on to talk or whatever, I saw videos, like a viral guy. He went viral because he was calling out his friend. He's like, I paid to be in his wedding. I paid to get this suit. I flew to Vegas with you. I did all of this stuff to be in your wedding. You got me calling your wife sis. And then you out here in the club trying to talk to these other women. Oh, no, bro, you need to sit down. I'm about to get you a drink. I'm about to do this, because you ain't about to be out here messing and playing around on this. Like, you don't make me spend money to invest in y'all marriage, and then you out here playing around. I saw that. I was like, yeah, we need more of that. So it's kind of funny that you say we don't do it enough or whatever. Hopefully that little viral video and people listen to this will hold some people accountable to really call your friends cards, because there's so much playing around out there when it comes to relationships. So they ain't gonna have to beat you up. They're gonna beat up the dude that went viral.
Right. Right. Because I can't say that I would ever put a video out just like, hey, my homeboy or my friend, this. I'm just pull them aside. Hey man, what you doing?
It was so funny. I started to send it to you. Like, we need to talk about this, but you went there anyway. So
Because it's the truth.
It is.
I see so much of just looking the other way, and like and you see it on both sides of the aisle. But another thing that another thing I try to focus on. I've told my partner in the office this, is that again, people like to shout at the other side.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, well, I guess we're the men that are talking to the guys. We're the men that are talking to the men.
Right.
So my lane is, I told her a long time ago, my lane is going to be, I'm going to talk to the brothers. I'm going to talk to the men. I don't believe I need to tell any woman what to do.
Gotcha.
Not my lane, not my space. If you ask me a question, I'll give an answer, but it's not my lane to say, this is what the sisters need to do. This is what the women need to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'd rather let's uplift the men. Not to say we're going to talk down to the women, because never that, but let's uplift the brothers. Let's uplift the men. And if you all are carrying yourself a certain way, things will change around you as it is.
Gotcha.
Right. So I want to hold the brothers accountable.
Okay. Well, I mean, I try to hold everybody accountable. So I guess I need to stay in my lane. But when it comes to like toxic relationships, like, because a lot of that, we got the futures out there who, make it cute for men to be toxic, and all of that type of stuff. Like, what are the signs that you kind of see when it comes to like those toxic relationships?
Self-absorption being one big one. Definitely very focused on yourself. When a person walks in with preconceived notions that don't involve their significant others or the person that they're talking to, their actual like personality and traits. So they're already coming in with, women are supposed to be this, or men are supposed to be this. And it's like, oh yeah, this is probably not going to go right. Like this is, because when I hear those type of preconceived ideas, I'm not hearing anything unique about the person that they're dating or the person they're talking to. I'm just hearing essentially your expectations already. Yeah. So expectations would be a big one.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what expectations are okay to have then?
It's a good question. It's okay, because we have to be careful there, because it's all right to have certain standards walking into a relationship. You trust that someone is going to, like, you trust the person that you talk to is going to call you back in a reasonable time or text you back in a reasonable time. The ones that tend to be okay don't apply a certain degree of pressure to the other person. So they still give that flexibility for them to be themselves.
Yeah.
So you walk in with the expectation, what's one of the big ones? The bill expectation. Someone has to pay bills.
Oh boy. Wow. You done did something with that one now.
Expecting another person to pay your own bills. It's men and women, not even signifying the sex here. But like you're expecting someone to pay your own bills, probably not a healthy expectation. But expecting that person to be able to manage certain things in their own life before they want to even be in a relationship, that's a reasonable one. Yeah. So you would expect someone to be able to handle their own life before they get into a relationship. But then expecting them to come in and handle your life as well is when it goes too far.
Gotcha. I know that this debate has been going on. I thought you were going to go there with it, because like the bills is one thing, but I think like this idea that the man should have to pay for everything. And a lot of people say that that's antiquated because, it's not the 1950s where stuff didn't cost what it costs now or whatever. Like, I mean, should women adjust their views? I know that you don't like to answer the question for women, but should they adjust their expectations around what a man should show up and be able to do when it comes to, not when you're talking about dating, because I think that that's trash for a woman to just, want their man to pay their bills and you just took me out for our first date. But like in the household, like we married, we here.
I love that question because it ties into part of the reason as to why I made the post in the first place.
Okay.
And so on a personal level, on a personal level, I believe that a woman should adjust her views if she is not seeing the results that she wants from the people that she currently has in her life, or the person that she wants, or the person that she's pursuing. So I believe that your views should start to change depending upon what outcome you want or have been experiencing in your own life.
Okay.
And so what I'm also saying, I guess between the words there, is if she's able to find what it is that she's looking for, she ain't got to adjust nothing. And I think that's the point that a lot of the podcasts that I've seen before don't really touch on. Is you can have your idea about what a person's supposed to be, but we can't shame somebody or shame the other side for not matching up to what we think that person should be.
Right.
So if I could think all day personally that, man, I wouldn't want someone who immediately would want me to walk in and pay all the bills. But I also realize that's my prerogative and that's my opinion. And I'm not going to go out and tell any woman who does want that, you're wrong. This isn't how you're supposed to be. Stop doing this. Never going to do that, because she can probably find that. And props to her doing it. I've had arguments with friends because they'll, in one of our group chats, they'll post the topic of the day that someone may have seen through Twitter or something, and they'll just start going off. And I know they have rolled their eyes inside at me and said, "All right, here come Justin with logic again." But they'll be talking about any situation that they've seen on Twitter, and I'm like, well, I mean, if he's okay with it, then what's the problem? Seems like it's their life, If it works for them, cool. I'd never let my woman do this. I'd never do this. If it works for them, what are we doing?
Yeah. But that plays back into the whole toxic kind of thing or whatever. And I don't want to just say toxic masculinity, because women are toxic also in their views as well. But when we look at that whole, idea of a toxic relationship and these belief systems that people come into a relationship, like, do you think it's possible for a relationship that starts out toxic to actually transform or evolve into something that's healthy?
Ooh. I think so. And that might be the optimist in me talking.
Okay.
But I think they can. I think they can if both parties want to. Honestly, both parties have to want to do it. And usually that does mean one of the two people may sit through a decent amount of toxic while they get to that point. Yeah. Because people heal at slower pace. People heal at different speeds. Yeah. And so, one person may be, quote unquote, more toxic than the other, but I think they can get there. They just have to want it. They have to want it to be better. But but both parties have to want it. If only one person wants it, we've seen that. I think we've both seen that story too many times, of the one person that really wants it and the other person who's kind of likes living in their toxicity. Yeah. Or may not even know what they're doing is toxic. And that I hate to say it, well, I'll say it directly, that poor one person is just going through it before you hope that they realize, hey, this probably isn't a healthy relationship for you. Yeah.
I mean, that question actually came from some sessions I've had this week. My sessions this week have been very interesting, and some of the toxicness. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good decision. Maybe you should rethink that. Because sometimes I show up as, Century's D. Russell LPC, and sometimes I just show up at Tree, and I be like, "Do you want a therapist's opinion right now? You just really." You like what you want, because I can give it to you real and raw. Somebody tried me on that this week, and I was like, "Yeah, you might want to just think a little bit harder about that particular part, because I'm seeing fucking narcissism in this person." So I don't think that toxic can change with a narcissist. I mean, I think that's to me is the line where, like, more likely than not, the relationship is not going to change, because the love bombing, all of that stuff that goes into it or whatever, like, that dynamic is not going to change. You're going to get what you want until you're gotten. And then once you're secured, I don't think that will change or whatever. So I think toxic relationships can grow, but I think the key that kind of keeps a lot of them from growing is one person's ego keeping them from being able to grow. So
you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. Yeah, that the person with the ego, the narcissist, is not going to really want to change, and that's going to come out eventually.
Yeah.
That's absolutely going to come out. And when it does, especially from a clinician standpoint, we see, ooh, okay.
It's like red flags waving everywhere. And like, girl, what are you doing? Boy, what are you doing? Like, it's not going to change, but okay. So I guess it can change from your point of view if both parties are willing to change and both parties are willing to do some things differently. But those occasions are very rare from what
I agree. That's I completely agree. I see that happen far less than I see one person feel like they're right or there's nothing wrong. And I know whenever I see that typically, unless they're willing to, like we said earlier, look in the mirror and realize, how do I contribute to this? There's a strong possibility that nothing's really gonna change here. And once I start to, especially as a clinician, once I start to push up on it enough, I'm not going to see them for long.
Yeah.
they're not. At some point, somebody's going to get tired of me pushing up against it. And
I got a client. I don't think they're coming back next week because they called me in rare form one day. I was like, yeah. So I'm anticipating a cancellation this week. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. So before we get out of here, I have to ask you, you said you like the title of the podcast.
I do.
How do you connect with that idea? And don't give me no little clinician answer. I want to know, how does Justin connect with the idea of being self-aware and effed up?
Ooh, let's see. In two ways. There was definitely a period of time where I drank the red pill Kool-Aid.
What?
The Samuels.
My
tape,
God!
all of that. There was a period of time when I definitely started to feel myself starting to fall into that trap, and I had to correct that quick. Because that just wasn't good for my home life at all. That stuff just wasn't that. That happened to be a rough year, because that was right around the turn of the pandemic too. And so, imagine starting to believe that stuff or starting to really take that stuff in, and then have to spend a lot more time at home with the same person that you're now building resentment with. Wow. Because you're starting to buy into this stuff. And I had to switch that. I had to stop that. Right. And I had to sit down. I had to get back into therapy. I had to start talking some of this stuff out. I had to start getting held accountable, like much more. I had to get healthier people around me. Yeah. And just stop engaging in some of those things. And the interesting thing is, once I changed the people around me, and once I went back to therapy, started actually being honest about this stuff, we ended up doing much better at home. Good. But it took me wanting to do it. Yeah. It really took me wanting to do it. So that was definitely one way I had to get self-aware, because if not, I was about to be real fucked up here at home. Okay. Man. And the other part was touching back to something I said earlier, was actually starting to hold friends more accountable too. And realize that I was having these discussions and having these conversations with people who were also dealing with their own issues, but didn't want to talk about it. Yeah. And so here I am in an echo chamber, just talking about what's wrong with this and how the home is supposed to be and A, B, C, and D. And I'm falling into these same conversations like, wait a minute. Okay, wait. This ain't serving my house at all. Right. But it took me, like you said, going to therapy and having real conversations with my therapist, and then having real conversations with the people around me before I was able to really start to pick up on that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you recognized it, because I definitely wouldn't have seen you as someone to drink the Kevin Samuels Kool-Aid. That was an error, may he rest in peace, but that was an error. I was like, wow, this don't make no sense. Y'all out here like this. And that other, I don't even remember the other guy's name that the wife left him. You probably remember who it is. Like, she was standing by him at first.
Jackson. That was Derek Jackson.
Yeah, him. It's a lot of those out there. But I'm glad you let go of the Kool-Aid. You didn't go all in, and you were able to pull back and pivot and reassess some things.
Tree, there was a period of time I was walking around the house just stoic. Wow. Just I'd see something that wasn't clean, and I'm just angry.
Wow.
Here's something else not being done. I was grumpy. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong. Like, it was a rough year. That was a rough year. I'm very glad that I ended up switching that, because it was not healthy for me at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you switched, because clearly your life would have definitely been fucked up had you not made some different choices.
I promise.
But just, I appreciate your vulnerability. I had to preface it like, I want a therapist answer, and I appreciate you showing up and giving a real answer with that or whatever, because people need to see, like, we're human. Like, sometimes people like romanticize their therapist and put them on a pedestal, and it's like, nah, we got some fucked up shit about us too, and we have to work through it as well. So I definitely appreciate your authenticity there. So how can people connect with you? How can they follow you, book you for a photography session? Like, how can they connect? Like, all of that.
And so, you know what? The easiest way to reach out to me is either through Instagram or Facebook even. My Instagram is, forgive me for not having it up, y'all. My Instagram is Justin Lee _D, Justin with an E. So JUSTENLEE _D. On Facebook, you can just look me up by my name. On Facebook, it's just Justin DeBose, and that has links to pretty much everything else. Those trying to reach me on the counseling space, the website is justinDeBoseLPC.com. Pulls it up, you're able to send me a form right there on the website in order to speak to me. I'm very reachable. Mm-hmm. Right. It is very easy to reach out and touch me. I'm not someone where you have to go through hoops and ladders and whatnot in order to reach out to me, in order to talk to me. It's very easy to reach me. My number is even on my site, to my work line. I definitely have a work cell phone to the work line, but
gotcha.
People can call me, people can reach out to me, people can text me. I'm pretty open.
Nice. Well, you guys, please make sure that you connect with Justin. Make sure you follow him on social media platforms. Connect with his website if you're interested in counseling services. And also check out his IG if you guys are looking to book a photography session. Definitely, I need to hit him up because I need some new headshots. Make sure you follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.